He's the I
And you
think
hear
that's
him?
all right.
Yeah. Friggin' guys and
Good morning, man.
Good morning. Good morning.
So what did you do this weekend?
I went home on Saturday, saw my dad at work. It's kind of like take your child to work day there. 'Cause
Really?
I never did a take your child to work day. Yeah. So I got to go there, and everyone's people thinking I'm a patient. I'm like, no, I'm Dr. Al's son. Like, oh, okay. But yeah, I went there, hung around Legends, saw my grandparents because they're flying out to Iran. They were supposed to last night, but they got a lot of flight travel, so hopefully
Right.
things get figured out. But I saw them and then watched, then just hung out with my mom for the weekend. I went to Casey Beer Company. Casey
Oh
Beer.
yeah, BIER.
I love it. It was pretty chill. It was pretty cool.
I
Sat
never been.
outside.
Yeah.
Accordion guy. They're watching the German soccer game.
So wait, is it just kind of brewery style, or is it a restaurant? Restaurant brewery.
It's
I.
I'm sorry. I'm still waking up.
No, let's say
it's kind of like, I mean, it is kind of like brewery, but I know at Boulevard, I feel like the tour is emphasized, but here it was more like, just come sit down. And I think that's what I would say. I think that's what you mean by restaurant type. It's not a restaurant, but sit down, you order your beers, and of course they had some food and stuff. It was actually one of Arian's friends' parents that my mom was meeting just for fun, So I thought I'd join.
Well, let's say good morning, Mr. Martin.
Good morning, Mr. Martin.
We are in different locations today. I'm at my parents' house.
We are. I'm in Lawrence, but
he's in Lawrence. He's at the Coffee's On studio, aka the dining room of our apartment, and I'm in my mom's office right now because I had to work last night. But that's all right. You bring your child to work day. So was that you in grade school? You never got to go?
No, I never went.
Yeah, me neither. Because my mom was like, all you're gonna do is sit in a hair salon, and then if I wanted to go, I couldn't go lay brick and be on a construction site with my dad. So, but I just remember teachers, because there would be like 3 or 4 of us kids in there, and I already went to a small private school where we had 20 kids max. So it was more like still a fun day for the students. I don't know if you remember your take your kids to work day, what those were like.
Yeah, I felt like in elementary school, a few people did it. And it may have been a few of the same people who would do it, but when that one year I was in California, I feel like most of them actually did.
Everyone went.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At least most. So, but yeah, I never went. I don't know. I don't think my parents were big. It was my dad working at the time. I mean, I could have probably stayed at home with my mom, but they probably valued school. So.
That's the same. Yeah. That's the same how it was over here, and not like I would want to go to work with my dad.
Yeah. You know what? It was probably you saw your friends. You're like, yeah, I wish I could go to my parents. I wish I could go miss school. That sounds super cool, but no, it's all good. It's fine.
Well, what did you think of the Sweet 16 games? I think you were more right because we did the predictions Friday. I think you hit more correct.
I think you may have been more right. But,
no, because I had Syracuse. I guess USC did win. Alabama. Yeah, I didn't get Syracuse and Alabama didn't win. That was kind of disappointing.
So I was looking at it this morning to get ready. I think on the first day I only had Baylor, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think my only correct prediction of yesterday was Gonzaga, because I think we flipped the Michigan and the Baylor games. One of us went Baylor, one of us went Michigan. Right?
I went Villanova.
Yeah, you went Villanova, and then I think you said Michigan.
Yes.
And Michigan. I said Florida State. So, yeah, they were got them wrong. My bracket isn't looking good. I texted our good old friend Ben yesterday saying, I think you're going to beat me, and that was my one main goal going into the whole thing.
That is true. Yeah, he called you out in the group chat too on that.
Yeah, and then I remember last night I was talking to Terrell. He's like, "Oh, why are you still?" I mean, listen, someone calls me out, then they're on the list. And the thing about the Armand list is you still are like 50% guaranteed that you won't be. You're still going to be right, but just in case you're not, just in case I will prove you wrong, I have you on my list, right? And Ben was on my list. Ben was number 1 on the list. Lucky for Ben, he probably took the easy way. He probably cheated somehow. But
he probably got it. You know what? He's a teacher, so he has all the students that he can go to.
Students to pick it for him. That's not even his bracket, I bet.
No, that's his history class. That's a second hours bracket.
And like other years, I could play the whole my other bracket, blah blah blah. But I look at my other bracket, the one that was doing the best had Alabama in the championship. Alabama winning it all. That was the one in my 52 or 60 percentile. I don't know how, because I could have had the whole Final Four correct. Because of that one, I had Baylor, Houston, and Gonzaga.
And so if Alabama would just made it, you would have had 100%.
I think that was my second bracket as well. So, and I only made 4 brackets this year. I made 2. I made 1 when I had a lot of coffee, and I made my 4th one right before the deadline.
Now, was the coffee one the coffee's on bracket?
No, the one in the bracket was I always put my first one in the bracket groups. That's just the first one I make. And usually that's the worst one.
Right.
So this one wasn't good. In fact, in the coffee's on group, I think I'm second to last right now. And if Gonzaga wins it all, I think I won't be in the bottom 2. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, right now, out of the bottom 4, you have the most projected points. But I'm in 5th place right now, and I'm projected to score less than you right now because I had Illinois winning it all, and so that kind of hurt when they lost in the second round.
Okay.
Only one of my brackets has the champion right because I had 2, or not right, but still alive, because I had 2 Illinois ones, and then I had 1 Alabama one. But then the one in our friend group one, the March is here, I have Michigan winning. So
yeah,
we'll see if they can complete that. They got to – I don't know. If out of the Elite 8 games, I guess today's the start of it. We got Arkansas, Baylor, and then Houston and whoever – I can't remember. Oh, Oregon State. We got some good games. Arian saying that USC Gonzaga should be a championship matchup.
Let's get to it. We can get to those games, but before that, I do have to say that 4th bracket, I do have Gonzaga and Houston in the final. So I might have to tap myself on the back, but I did see the Ben's bracket has Gonzaga and Houston in the final. So we'll see if that happens. And I even made a second chance bracket, but I'm pretty sure in that one, I was big on Alabama this tournament.
Yeah.
So that hurt me being big on them. But sorry,
No, you're all right. I'm looking at the Elite 8 games. We get kicked off today with Oregon State and Houston, and then end the night with Arkansas, Baylor.
Oregon State, Houston. So those are 2 games that I think both of us agreed on the picks, right? But we agreed the other way around. We said Loyola would win. And I think we both were on the Buddy Boeheim train.
Yes, we were both. I was riding the Syracuse high all the way to the Final Four because I thought it was going to be one of those years.
But I'm trying to look at some. So we're first talking Oregon State. This Oregon State game, right? That's who we're saying. Sorry.
That's the first game of the evening.
We got Oregon State, Houston. I'm seeing some tweets, on the few fan bases I follow. You're right, Lily. We'll talk about those women's games too.
They got some good ones tonight.
There's a big one tonight. UConn Baylor.
Oh,
I think that's 6 o'clock.
Yep. I might watch that over the Houston and Oregon State game, honestly.
I'll have it on. I don't watch too much women's basketball. And when I was watching the UConn Iowa game, I noticed how I think I told Lily this, that the first quarter, right? They do 4 quarters, 10 minutes each. It was going by so quick. They just kept shooting, driving, a few fouls. It seemed awesome. And I'm like, this is great. The game's really moving quick. Before long, the second and there's Raj with his questions. Before long, the second quarter was starting. And then a few hours later, I get on Twitter and someone says, that's the beauty of women's basketball. They don't call a lot of shooting fouls, and they only have one media timeout. So it really lets the game go quick.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really enjoyed that compared to the men's game, that UCLA-Alabama game last night, right? Where they were calling calls, whether they were right or wrong, they weren't being consistent in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
And that was a big thing towards the end of the game, that charge. But besides the point, UCLA won that game over Alabama. I think Houston can shoot Oregon State out of the building tonight, but man, they are riding that Pac-12 championship all the way through. They talk about a team that has been on a hot streak.
They are. How I say it is they just started playing basketball. And when you say streak, I think they had a one-game winning streak going into the Pac-12 tournament. And then they're like, all right, guys. They go to their silver fox of a head coach, like, all right, let's just start playing basketball. They win one game. I think they beat Oregon. They beat Colorado, right?
Yep.
Come to the tournament. Who was their 5 seed? Who was their 5? Can you remember their 5 without?
Oklahoma State was the 4. 5 was.
Let's see. Let's see if the lag can beat us.
I can't remember who the 5 seed in that region was. You got me going back to look now. Oh, the 5 seed.
As soon as you say it, we're gonna say, oh, the 5.
In that region was you know who it was? Tennessee, man.
You're right. Orange team. No, there were 3 oranges: Oklahoma State, Oregon State, and Tennessee.
And Syracuse.
Yeah, but like
literally
those 3 were someone would play Oklahoma State, which happened. But yeah, so Oregon State, right? What we're trying to say with these oranges and them starting to play, they just are playing good, like you said, good team basketball. And in the end of the day, they're scoring more points than the other team, so they're moving on. The only thing with them is Houston going to be, the best team they've played in a while? I guess they did beat Oregon, right?
Right.
But, I guess Colorado and Loyola actually was a good team, better than I think people gave credit for. So maybe this Oregon State team. See, I can't be doubting Oregon State anymore because I feel like I kept pushing them off. And on the other hand, with Houston, I see a lot of my Twitter saying Houston has played. I saw one tweet. They've only played one team that has been ranked in the top 25 at any point in this season. All right. The thing about the NCAA tournament is you just got to survive in advance. What have I been saying all year? I said there's going to be there's 2 ways you win the tournament. You're either, at that time I did include another team, but I said you're either Gonzaga, at the time I said, and Baylor. But you're either Gonzaga or you avoid Gonzaga. And what's Houston doing? They're on the other side. They're doing exactly what I said, and that's called avoiding Gonzaga. So you just got to survive in advance.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Washington State football's at the time head coach Mike Leach was saying the beauty of these tournaments is, you might not be that number 1 team, but this team wins and this team wins and this team wins, and you keep advancing. And in the end, it might be a 5 seed, or it might, like in the NFL, in the Super Bowl, might be a 5, or in the tournament, you don't know, might be a 4, whoever it is. But in the end, it's the last one standing. So I don't care if Houston hasn't played anyone. Some of the tournament is luck of the draw. They played well last game against the train we were on.
Yep.
We'll see what they can do against Oregon State. Sure, they may have not had the most competition, but in the end, they're 1 game away from the Final Four.
Houston, Houston took care of Syracuse pretty easily, but Syracuse had a tough night shooting the ball. It was their poorest shooting performance of the tournament, but I like this game. I think it's going to be pretty. I think Houston just will slip by them. The more exciting game tonight, though, is the Baylor-Arkansas game. I think Arkansas has just been in 2 close of games against teams that you got the Cinderella team, Oral Roberts, but yet it still came down to a final shot, whether or not it was going to go in overtime or not. Baylor has shown us that they may get down early, but they are able to overcome those deficits and still win by pretty wide margin. So as much as I doubted Scott Drew on this show and just everywhere, I think that he actually gets Baylor to the Final Four this time. We'll see the Bears taking on Houston Cougars on Saturday. It's going to be Saturday. Final Four, man. Can't believe it.
I know it's coming up quick. You know, you mentioned doubting Scott Drew. We all, I feel like all my Twitter and everyone, a lot of KU fans are big anti-Baylor, anti-Scott Drew. And what have they been doing? They took a page out of my book. They started making a list.
Right.
And, you know, they won their games pretty well, right? Villanova, we thought would give him a little bit of a scare because even though I did say Baylor, good job, Armand, I was really split on those two.
Right.
And they were down first half, but they still came back and got the job done. With Arkansas, I agree exactly what you said. Arkansas has just been playing too close. Texas Tech, Oral Roberts, those are just unlucky for those two teams. And Arkansas got it done.
I mean, even in the second round, they won by 2 points against Texas Tech also. They just haven't shown that they can separate themselves from their opponent except against the game against Colgate. But that was a 14 seed.
And they struggled for a little, I think 30 minutes, what I like to say.
They were down in the first half.
They're down in the first half. And speaking of first halves, I actually think they got a run at the end of the first half. That kind of skyrocketed their momentum. But speaking of first halves, I do think Baylor might be a little iffy in the first half this game. But I say that like every big game. But I think Arkansas can. It's like, what's his name? Seth Davis or something?
Yeah, but, Seth Davis.
I think this will be. I think Baylor will win. I won't be surprised if we get notifications that Baylor's on upset alert a little too early. But
Gonzaga beating USC if USC stays hot shooting. If they keep shooting like they have been this tournament, how much of a chance do you give them against Gonzaga? We'll hit these two games quick because we'll move on to Roger's questions.
All right, I'll answer your question a very Armand way. I think USC is going to be a harder matchup for them than Michigan. I think I wanted them to play Alabama, but I think USC. I think USC's a good team. I still think Gonzaga is going to win, and like I said, I'm going to keep picking Gonzaga until they lose. Me and Terrell were talking about last night. I don't know how they could lose. I'm trying to figure out how. If it is USC, then it's going to support my theory of teams that beat KU. At least that's good for KU. They show up in the Final Four sometimes, regardless of where we lose. But we'll see what happens. This will be. I don't know. I don't know, Marco.
No, I
still think Gonzaga will win. I think it'll be close. I thought their last two games were going to be close first half, and they weren't. Gonzaga covered the first half both last games, so
handled Bips' Creighton Blue Jays pretty well yesterday. Also,
they did. It looked like it's just because I think they need to play a good defensive team, and maybe USC has two big guys, but so does USC has size. So does Gonzaga. What I thought was astonishing about Gonzaga is yesterday their three best players, right? Timmy, Suggs, and Kispert, right? Let's say those are their three best players. They weren't the best players on the game. They had their other two best players playing well. So that's hard. That's really hard. And my last thing on Gonzaga, you said quick, and I
No, it's fine.
Listen to you. Gonzaga just got a recruit. Hunter Salas, I think his name is. I've known him I've heard of him for a couple years because our good friend Ethan Morrison from Millard North, that's where Hunter Salas is from. A couple years ago, he tells me, there's this guy from my high school who's playing basketball, 5-star recruit. I think he's going to come to KU. Self's already looking at him. Well, he's a 5-star, and KU was in his list. And yesterday was the Hunter Salas game because he's an Omaha guy. Creighton was in his list. But who did he pick? He's taking a page out of these guys like Suggs, right? Jalen Suggs or these players. They're top. They can go anywhere. Suggs could play football anywhere. They want to go to play to Gonzaga. And where's Hunter Salas going, number 13 recruit? He's going to Gonzaga. The new bloods. The new bloods.
The new bloods. That's what you preached to, man. We have the blue bloods and then the new bloods and Gonzaga being the top of that. Another Armand list. Gonzaga at the top of that one. UCLA, I don't think they'll get the job done against Michigan. I'm riding that Michigan bandwagon, man. You know me. I've told you already with Juwan Howard and the Fab Five. I'm riding that. I hope we get a Michigan Gonzaga Final Four game, and I think we'll get just that. But I think UCLA's magical run, Cinderella run, Cinderella run, excuse me. We have an 11 and 12 seed in the Elite Eight. That's pretty.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing. But and a team that was a play-in game coming into this tournament, I think Michigan's just the better team in this one. Congrats to the Pac-12 though on getting having 3 of the 8 teams represent your conference.
And Bill Walton, but we aren't showing him respect or the Pac-12 respect, because I think with your picks, and I didn't pick, but I'm probably going that way too. It's anti-Pac-12, and I think this tournament people were, overlooking? Overlooking Pac-12, and look what they've done. Just like you said, three of the Elite Eight teams, and we'll see if one of them moves on. But I think UCLA, they are that Cinderella team, and they're just like Oregon State. They're the real Cinderella team because they're still moving.
We've already kind of teased it a little bit before we talked about the men's tournament, but of course the women's Elite Eight starts off tonight too. And we got a 1 and 2 matchup to kick off, and that's going to be around the same time as the Oregon State and Houston game. But it's UConn versus Baylor, 2 of the top women's programs in our lifetime are going to be going up against each other. You got 2 of the best coaches in women's college basketball with Gino Ariami and Kim. I want to make sure I get her last name right. But oh man, see, look, this is what happens when you do a live show. When you wake up and just start a live show.
Kim Mulkey.
Kim Mulkey, thank you.
Well, what's kind of cool about these 2 teams? I heard this yesterday from our big Arkansas fan, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Baylor and UConn have both lost. UConn has 1 loss. Baylor has 2. Who did they both lose to? Arkansas. Just kind of a little funny. And Arkansas was in the tournament this year, but they lost in the second round, I think. But yeah, this will be a big game. Again, UConn, I guess Arian's got a crush on Paige Beckers, but
she went to high school with Jalen Suggs.
We've been following her. I remember seeing things about her in high school. Now, like she's a walking bucket and all this, and watching her with UConn. Shooting wise, Iowa was kind of getting the best of her, but then she showed that she's not just a shooter. I think she had like 8+ assists, rebounds, points in the game. She was UConn, they people forget they got other players. Gonzaga, who? UConn did it first. That Westbrook girl, and then they had the number 20. I don't know her name, but very tall. I just really liked her. And then Westbrook, I think, was number 22. She balled out. Another Westbrook. Lily was like, "Oh, Westbrook, huh?" But they're a good team, and it comes to us thinking. When it comes to dynasties in sports, if we just say just sports or just sports teams, who is above Gino's UConn? Because the things they've done, the number of games they've won, the domination they've done in their sport, dominating your sport, it's been some decades since we've seen that.
They're the second most winningest program in women's basketball history right now. But yeah, you nailed it right there. Like I said, it's we know about Baylor's women's basketball. We know about UConn women's basketball because they've been dominant in our lifetime, ever since we started watching the game of basketball, respectively with Tennessee Volunteers as well and Pat Summitt. But these 2 programs have been able to stay consistently good where they're reaching the Elite Eight almost every year in the tournament. But this is a game where maybe UConn has the edge because Baylor has struggled a bit in this tournament. It took an overtime loss in the Sweet 16 to beat the 6-seeded Michigan. UConn seemingly they won by 20 points in their Sweet 16 games. Maybe this is one of those matchups where 2 great programs, 2 great head coaches. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch from that standpoint. But when it comes to just the talent, maybe that's where UConn just gets by a little bit more than Baylor.
Yeah, I'm looking at an Armand stat. I think ever since Gino won his first title in '95, only twice, because I think he's won 11 titles. Only twice has there been 5 years of separation. And it was between 95 and 2000 and 2004 and 2009. And what I mean by that is 5 years of separation where they didn't win. And their last win was 2016. And what's 5 years later? That's 2021. So,
and that just tells you about all the other women's basketball programs in the NCAA Division I, because you got teams like Texas A&M, the Baylors, the Notre Dames a few years ago. It just goes to show UConn has been dominant, but what's that? Tennessee, exactly. Yes, Tennessee. It just goes to show that it's not just UConn. There's other schools that have been able to compete with those teams, who have been able to, I guess you could say, we're fueled by motivation to take down Goliath, and it's shown through and through that, yeah, UConn basketball is dominated, but there's other programs within it, and that's what's so great about this other Elite Eight game between Indiana and Arizona. Indiana had to, it was Arizona. They upset number 2 Texas A&M. Indiana upsets number 1 NC State. This is going to be a great game between two teams that have had to beat higher seeds of them and make it to this regional final. I don't know much about the two teams, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just take Arizona in this one because they beat the number 2 Texas A&M. I know Indiana beat number 1 NC State, but I'm just going to take Arizona on this one. West Coast.
I was just looking at UConn's schedule, and I know you're talking Indiana, Arizona.
Yeah.
But I want to. I looked at UConn's game, and they had that 1 3-point loss to Arkansas. They beat number 25 Tennessee when they were number 25 by 6 earlier this year, and they beat South Carolina when they were the number 1 team by 4. Those are their only single-digit games, along with that 3-point loss to Arkansas. So that's another team. Kind of when we talk, Gonzaga has only had 1 game within 10 points and only 2 games, 5 and 10 points that they won by. Everything else was much more. So it's going to be hard to dominate them, but we'll see. And when it comes to the other game, Arizona, Indiana, let's go. Who'd you say, Arizona? I'll go Indiana. They're the 4 seed. They're riding that 1 seed upset. Why not,
Arizona, and I'm looking at Arizona's schedule right now, and I may regret my choice because they lost pretty handily to number 2 Stanford, but they've been a consistent top 25 team throughout the season. So I'm going to hold on to it. All right, fine. You'll take Indiana. I'll take Arizona. Perfect.
Thank you.
Another split decision. Let's see. All right. Some big news in
Happy
the
Monday,
NFL.
Uncle Maury. Sorry, before we get to the news.
Uncle Maury.
Will Sharp wanted us to leave it anti-Pac-12. He's a Colorado State guy, so
there we go. Here, you want to do a cheers over a remote cheers? There you go.
Oh, that I was trying to do this way. I was.
It's a happy Monday.
It is a happy Monday.
Woo. Chiefs made some news yesterday. We talking Elite Eight. There was some news going down in the NFL, specifically with our favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. They signed former Seattle Seahawk Jaron Reed, a defense tackle. He's coming to KC on a 1-year, $7 million, $5 million guaranteed. With that added to the cap, now the Chiefs are left with just about $11 million in cap space remaining in the offseason. Still plenty of time before the draft to make some noise. Armand, what do you make of this signing for the Chiefs?
I'm looking.
I'll give you a fun fact. The last time he played with Frank Clark, they both played in Seattle together. He had 10.5 sacks that season.
Wow.
So now he rejoins his former teammate with the Chiefs in Frank Clark. Had 6.5 sacks last season, I believe.
Mm-hmm. He had. Oh, you stopped talking. Oh, you're still here. You're waiting for me to talk. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was pulling up the stats to double check. But
yeah, that's what I'm doing too. 6.5 sacks last year. You said when he played with Frank Clark, they only played one season together. That's 10.5 stacks.
The last season they played together. I don't know how many seasons they played together, but I know the last season that they played on the same line together. But now this gives this gives you the opportunity to put Chris Jones next to another pass rush, two pass rushers together, and then also frees him up to go spend some time on the defensive end.
Wow. Also, that year that he had 10 or 10.5, Frank Clark had 13. So that makes me really excited. You said how much did they sign him for? Happy Monday, Will.
Have a good day. Have a good Monday, Will. It's $5 million guaranteed, or $5 million guaranteed, $7 million total, I assume, with bonuses and whatnot.
For 1 year?
Yes, and according to Arian, it looks like it was his rookie year. I wonder if he's talking about Frank Clark in that regard.
I don't know, Arian. I did the sack check, so maybe
it was Frank Clark's rookie year with Jaron Reed.
I don't know. Get out of the bathroom, Arian, and check. But wow. So he chose. Sorry, I say that, and he said he chose $5 million guaranteed over $8 million guaranteed at Seattle. All right, so he wants to win, but I like that. 1 year, he's a 28-year guy, so he's not old.
Nope.
It's funny, we say you hit 30, that's when you're old, and he's only 2 years old. He's not old, he's young. But I think we were talking about this before we went on air, off camera, talking about the needs.
Yes.
I feel like,
the three needs. The three needs for the Chiefs.
Sorry,
now.
Your tail was wagging in the background. I feel like there's a lot of needs, right? On the defensive side, some people want to say that I have a friend who says secondary isn't a need. That's our best part of the defense. I know linebacker is a big need. You can go in the draft, maybe get someone. And here's the thing. Chiefs fans wanted to be disappointed about after this 2 weeks of free agency, because as we know in NFL history, you only have 2 weeks to sign a free agent or 2 weeks to do trade. We know that. After that, the season's done. And also, if there's stats that say if you're the team that spends the most in free agency in the offseason, if you're the team that spends the most, you're actually more likely than not to not make the playoffs.
That is true, and we've seen that and that stat comes from the Jets and Jacksonville, right? They're the two teams in the last few years that have signed the most free agents value-wise.
And I think they signed a lot this year too. And that's me giving my Armon answer. Answering the actual question, I think that I think it's a good signing, and I love that it's $5 million. Right, you're not overpaying. You paid a lot for that offensive lineman, but you're showing that you still have money to give. 1 year deal, all right. And there's going to be a time where maybe they need to start doing a little multiple year deals, but you lost K-Pass, right? Passignon.
Yep.
I know different positions, but
just signed with the Saints today.
So he signed with the Saints today. On the other hand of the defensive side, you re-sign Sorensen, right? He's coming back. And to steal from Mr. Raj over here, it is a great move, right? We got that upgrade at DN. And also, this is just right. You now have him. What's his name? Reed and Chris Jones. Chef's kiss, as you would say. But now we're going to turn it over to you, Marco, and hear your 5 cents about the move.
My 5 cents, my 2 cents, my nickel and my dime. That's a defense.
That's five.
I love the move. Like Raj says, it moves Chris Jones to the outside. No more double teaming on him, because we saw a lot of that this past season. In fact, fans were calling out Jones and Clark for not being tough enough on the defensive line in certain games. They were wondering where the pass rush was at. Well, now this creates more of an opportunity to where you finally get into the position why you signed Clark and Jones to such big contracts. There's no more excuses after the season. If with a healthy season, having those two guys on the outside, now having Reed on the inside that's interchangeable with Wharton. Derek Nottie, and then Colin Saunders. Interested to see what will come from there, because now the defensive tackle depth is pretty set. you got your interior guards on the opposite side set. Now you got your interior line set as well. They may still need to address the edge in the draft. They know they re-signed Taco Charlton this offseason. You have Mike Dana, your rookie from last year, coming into his second year. Those guys are going to play roles, but I think you still maybe want to look at an edge rusher when it comes to the draft in April. Maybe not a day one, maybe a late day two guy. But my three needs for the Chiefs right now that I think that they still need to focus on this offseason, as we're less than a month away from the NFL draft, it's obviously the offensive line, addressing the need at left tackle, whether it's, this past week, Brendan Dworzynski out there in Topeka, he brought to my attention again that Orlando Brown is still on the Baltimore Ravens, and the Chiefs could still make a move at him in a trade possibly. Now, I haven't seen rumors of that happen since the rumors about Trent Williams came out, but the way if the Chiefs were going that aggressive at someone like Trent Williams, where they were matching the contract of the 49ers, where it came down to just loyalty with the GM and the free agent and the head coach, then I completely understand. You gotta you respect loyalty when it comes to that. But seeing that how aggressive they went after a left tackle in Williams, like they were willing to throw as much money as they could at him. It really just came down to relationship at that point. And so I think that their aggression towards that position is not going to stop. Now, do we want to rely on a first-round rookie who we haven't seen play at a pro level yet? Nah, maybe not. Maybe not. The Chiefs could still draft a left tackle in the first round, but it's not a proven left tackle at the NFL level. Villanueva is still on the free agent market with former Pittsburgh left tackle. He's protected a Hall of Fame quarterback. Not calling Mahomes a Hall of Fame quarterback yet, but he's on track. As
he knows how to win.
Would say. Yes, exactly. He's been on a winning program. He's come from an environment that with a head coach like Mike Tomlin, where I think it's a guy that you could trust to start week one. So I expect the Chiefs that's why it's still number one, because I believe it's still number one on the Chiefs' needs. I think that they're not cutting that short in any way. I think they're still going to go out and get a guy. There's still plenty of time.
Emphasize left tackle or any type? Or
no, left tackle. Emphasizing the left tackle specifically, because they re-signed Mike Rimmers already. He can be your right tackle. You got Lucas Niang, the rookie. Again, another not proven guy, but maybe someone that he played right tackle at the college level. So if you bring someone with experience in, whether it's trade or signing, I think that's the route to go. Maybe you still draft your rookie left tackle there. Maybe you get Villanueva on a 1-year deal and you let your rookie sit back and be a role player. My second need is the linebacker position. Right now, your linebackers are Willie Gay, Anthony Hitchens, Ben Neiman, who they brought back, and then, of course, Dorian O'Daniel, who we haven't seen really play much at the linebacker position. He's kind of looking like a bust he's kind of looking like a bust as far as draft picks go. How many times Reed is another pass rushing guy. I think that we can agree that the Chiefs defensive line is focused on pass rush. This line is built to get to the quarterback. There were times last year where teams, maybe the run game doesn't beat the Chiefs, but a run game can definitely tire out the Chiefs defense. And bringing in guys back like Dan Sorensen, Ben Neiman, I think that salary cap stuff which is fine. You got to work with what the cap is given, and it did get cut this year. So bringing guys back like Dan Sorensen and Neiman, we've seen them play. We've also seen them tackle. And I say it, but we've seen them tackle very few, because I don't think they're guys that can really help stop the run. And so maybe going into this draft, you get a linebacker day one or day two. Nick Bolton, he's a guy out of Missouri that you could possibly look at as an outside linebacker, because as Roz notes, Willie Gay will be back at the middle linebacker position. Now, I'm fine with having Gay, Hitchens, and then a top rookie linebacker playing there. because I've seen too many times this Chiefs defense just look out-conditioned and just not fit to stop the run game. And maybe that's just on our part as Chiefs fans. We were blessed to watch Derek Johnson our whole lives. We were blessed to watch Tamaha Lee and Justin Houston. The Chiefs had good linebackers. As they've been a team with good linebackers for as long as we've been Chiefs fans. Mahomes has only been the quarterback for 4 years now. 4 years. So maybe that's just from having to watch great, really good Chiefs defenses for most of our Chiefs fan tenure. But that's something that I really miss is having a linebacker that can actually crash, get up the middle. Because remember, your blitzes were coming from cornerbacks, and that could be Steve Spagnuolo's scheme. Maybe linebackers isn't really the need that they see for their defensive scheme. Maybe it's going out. Maybe it is getting more cornerbacks and safeties in this draft. I don't know, but I really just miss having someone like a Derek Johnson in that front seven. Third need, either extending Tyrann Mathieu, who is coming up on his final year of the deal. That also comes with a restructure as well. Could give you put more money towards the back end years, or like you, a receiver. But I'm looking at a receiver like Cordarrelle Patterson, who can serve out of the backfield because the Chiefs need a fullback also. Last year with Chicago, he had a career high 64 rushing attempts. In the last 3 years, he's had over 100 rushing attempts. He also serves as a kick returner, has 7 career kick return touchdowns. I don't know if Byron Pingle's going to be moving up on the receiver depth. Maybe Cordarrelle Patterson, you bring him in, not necessarily as your number 3 receiver, but you put him there as your third running back, first fullback, but he serves primarily as your kick returner. I like going after someone like him because I think he'll be a cheap option, and I don't know. That's kind of my wild thing. If they went after Cordarrelle Patterson, I've always had an obsession with him ever since he was with the Vikings.
I think you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. You said left tackle, then you said linebacker, and then you said figure out your main guy in that secondary, right? Figure out Tyrann Mathieu's situation, or figure out your second, third receiver. You
can't lose Tyrann Mathieu. You got to extend him because what did the Chiefs do after? And this also ties in with the left tackle case. What did the Chiefs do after they lost an AFC Championship against the Patriots? They addressed the defense. They went out and got Steve Spagnuolo. They went out and got the best safety available on the free agent market. What did we see in this Super Bowl loss? Crappy offensive line play. You got to go out and get the best offensive lineman that fits with your team, and maybe even drafting two, three, maybe too much in this upcoming draft now with the offensive line depth. That's what you got to do. I'm just seeing that as, all right, you got to focus in on the rest of this offseason the way you did after that AFC Championship loss against the Patriots way back when.
And I think our Chiefs insiders, Arian and Raj, are also hitting the nail on the head. They're helping you constructing this house. Arian said low risk, high reward for Patterson. He's seeing eye to eye with you. Rajat, I think you're right. Tyrann doesn't want to go anywhere, and we should, if we're thinking straight, be thinking the same way. And then we have the man in the myth, and legend would be an understatement.
He's in the kitchen right now.
He's in the kitchen right now. You can't. Yeah, he can take the heat, so he's in the kitchen. Yeah, that would be a problem. I'm not big on saying, that's a huge problem, but I know a lot of people are. DK Metcalf, that was, I remember being in the car and getting that pick, and DK Metcalf was available, and, we take this guy. And
he's walked into the studio now.
Still ended up being, he has something to say. But no, but I think
everybody.
I think what everyone's saying is correct, and I like this because you go in the draft and you have 8 picks, right? So you have 8 picks. So left tackle,
8 picks, 3 in the top 100. I think 7 of them in the top 200.
Mm-hmm. And Arian's right on that. The Hardman the Hardman pick was I don't think we're going to have Hill, so let's get Hardman. And people want to trace back that, and I think I agree with that. But I think now we know we got 2 fast receivers. Now let's get what? Now let's get a tall receiver. And we got fans of Danny Falcon here. But now let's get a tall receiver. Let's get that over 6 foot. I'm treating receivers like some people treat Tinder, right? I want over 6 foot. I want over 6'2". But I'm not kidding. I want a receiver. We already got our fast guys. Now let's get that tall guy, okay? I'm not saying that's the first need, but that's in that need. You have 8 picks, and we just mentioned a few needs. So you get that left tackle, check. That's one. You get a wide receiver somewhere in the first 6 picks, or honestly, in the 8 picks. That's 2, right? Not in order. Left tackle's 1, but right, that's tier 1, and then it's everyone else. So I'll put that finger away, or I'll bring it back. Sorry. Left tackle, wide receiver. You mentioned linebacker. A linebacker or edge, or linebacker and edge? What would you say?
I would say linebacker, outside linebacker, because he serves as an edge in a way.
You get that linebacker, so that's 3. Okay, that's 3, and then I'd like to get just the best secondary you like at the time you want to get a secondary. So that's 4. I just said 4. The next 4 picks, you do whatever you want, but you finish those 4, right? You get a left tackle, you get a wide receiver over 6 foot, you get a secondary, and you get a linebacker. And then you do whatever you want with the next 4. Maybe another offensive lineman, right? Maybe maybe a defensive line to get ready, to prepare.
One thing tight end. Yep, maybe, yes. A tight end is very key. But they brought back Blake Bell, which I really like because he served well as a backup tight end in his year before he left with the Chiefs. A guy that we've seen also could catch a touchdown pass in the playoff game. Something we didn't see out of Deion Yelder and Nick Keizer, who they brought back for some reason, but I also think that's another salary cap type thing. But I'm really pleased that they brought back Blake Bell to serve as the tight end too. Maybe he adds more than the tight ends last year behind Kelsey. Raj talks about late wide receivers that you can look at. He talks about Jonathan Adams, Wyatt Hubert, guy out of K-State.
Today, if I'm being honest.
What's that?
I'll probably be doing mock drafts today, if I'm being honest.
Hey, yeah, because now after you got to do one after each after each Chiefs transaction, because like we said, the list interchanges as the Chiefs continue to build their team throughout this free agency. I can't remember. I got to look in the comments now. Who said that Beach could trade up? Arian. Hey, Miami has 2 picks in the first round, one of them at the 18th spot. If the guy is there, if there is a guy there that you want, who's the Northwestern tackle?
Vera Tucker? Or is that USC?
No, it's USC. Because we know the Oregon guy is going to be picked within the top 10.
I know Slater.
Slater, right? There we go. If that's your guy, maybe there's a wide receiver there that you want, a Marshall out of LSU. I don't know. Maybe you do trade up in this draft and get someone. If you get your guy, negotiate with the Dolphins, a team that is stacked with picks for the next few years, who has 2 picks in the first round. That's one thing that just came to my head after this last week with the trades between the 49ers, Eagles, and Dolphins. That's who I'm negotiating with in a trade. If you are going to trade up, if the guy is there, Raj, if Kyle Pitts to the 31st overall pick, inshallah.
Inshallah, you're right. Inshallah, but Kyle Pitts, that's a guy I'd trade up for. Yeah, if he somehow's at 25, okay, trade up. Those other guys, unless you think they are much, much, much better than anyone else you can get without trading up.
Who's a linebacker out of Penn State?
Parsons. I don't think. See, that's the thing with Pitts too. I don't think those guys – I haven't heard anything about Parsons, but I've seen some Chiefs Twitter saying they've been seeing Pitts fall. Where have you been seeing Pitts fall? The only way Pitts falls is if 10 teams draft quarterbacks. I don't know how Pitts is falling. But I hope I'm wrong. If he's there at 25, I will be shocked if Chiefs are the only team thinking of trading up.
I can tell you one thing that I know about Pitts. He's getting a deodorant sponsor as soon as he gets drafted in the league. Speed stick.
It depends. Regardless of if he's going to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, you don't know. But
no, or New England, Gillette. Owe, there we go. Owe, Arian, yeah, another guy. Parsons, Owe. That's a guy that I won't mind. But also one nugget to remember: a lot of the offensive linemen on the Chiefs this year are on 1-year deals. 1-year deals.
That's why we mentioned in the things I said that were also your needs too. And correct me if these aren't your needs, but it's those 4 that you check mark, and then you have 4 others that you fill with whatever you want. Those whatevers are the maybes. We said like a second offensive lineman. I didn't say left tackle. I said lineman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the guy we pick, I know you want left tackle, but maybe the guy we pick is someone who isn't left tackle but can play left tackle or something like that. But those 4 needs are extraordinary, especially tackles tier 1. The rest, those are the tier 2. I want to fill those somewhere in the draft. And you also sprinkle in the maybes too.
Yep. They still need a center too, which I always keep forgetting about. Maybe Nick Martin, who was cut from Houston this year, possibly negotiate with him on a 1-year deal. Royals 40-man roster is set. Wade Davis makes the cut. We're going to touch on this for a little just because opening day is approaching. But the Royals in spring training, as of today, in the final day of Cactus League, Alex Lewis of The Athletic tweeted this out earlier. They're first in the Cactus League with a record of 15-8. They lead the league in home runs. I know it's just spring training, but still. OPS is third at 825. They're second in hits with 236. Second most in strikeouts with 273. They're seventh with an ERA of 4.7, but I don't care about that because what I really care about more is that this team can get runs. Because that's what was missed from the Royals this last year was I hate seeing them lose 3-1. I hate seeing those games where they lose by 2 to 3 runs because you know why? In those games, they weren't efficient at the plate. Their plate efficiency was not great. I think now with this 1 through 9 order, I think that this Royals team is going to be a lot better offensively. Pitching, we'll worry about it later. Opening day, I think is slated for April 1st against the Rangers. We'll have plenty of Royals baseball to talk about for Coffee's on in the coming months. But I don't know, Armand. I know we haven't talked much about the Royals, but it's baseball season, man. Chiefs off. It's NFL offseason, baseball season coming to the end of March Madness. Are you excited for Royals baseball?
I am. And you remember last year, growing up, I wasn't a big baseball guy. Those 2014, 2015 World Series teams, keeping up with them, 2013 and following that 16 and 17, it did become fun. My family started enjoying watching baseball. And then come last year, I was really getting into it. I was thinking, okay, they just got to go 500. And I know that usually doesn't happen for the Royals, but they just got to win 31 games. Remember, I said road to 31. Road to 31. If you look back, I think a couple of the last playoff teams flirted around that 31 number, maybe even a little less than 31. But I am excited. They made their moves. You've always said that their pitching right now is really good. They got some veteran batters, and their young guys seem really good, right? Witt Jr., right? Bobby Witt Jr. And that pitching.
He's going to be in the minors. He won't be on the opening day.
I know that. Yeah, I know he's in the minors right now. I know. But I'm saying the young guys are looking good. You got your pitching. Hopefully they move him up soon. We'll see. Whit Merrifield, maybe he's the new leader. I kind of like him. I know I'm a Joko girl, but I kind of like him, number 15. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm excited, except that on YouTube TV that Terrell has here, that they won't have those Fox Sports games. So we're going to have to find a different way, but I think we'll find a way. But that's what I'm thinking. Are they going to have Royals games on ESPN a little more than usual?
If they are, it's because the Royals are playing a team like the Yankees or Red Sox. I think last year, if I remember correctly, maybe they had 1 or 2 games on ESPN. I'm not too concerned about that. Prime time baseball, Friday night, Sunday night baseball. I'm not too concerned about that, but we will definitely use the laptop to watch the Royals games. That's a whole nother That's a whole nother conversation as far as TV contracts and MLB restricting.
You mean our TV contracts or MLB's TV contracts?
MLB's TV contracts. Because I don't understand why a league would make it so hard and put so many restriction on viewers when you already have a tough time getting people to watch the game. And that's why a commissioner like Rob Manfred has kind of Oh man, he has changed the game of baseball in ways that, maybe it appeals to a newer audience, but I know as just watching, trying to shorten the game in ways, it's just dumb. It's dumb, and it's yeah. As Bib says, Rob Manfred is an idiot. That's why
he's always Bib just comes in trashing Rob Manfred. This isn't the first time I've heard him say this or say it on YouTube, but we see what happens when commissioners can ruin the sport, and we've seen people be on different sides of different commissioners, those we really like and those we don't. When we talk about commissioners, or we talk about those who are in charge of large organizations and how they can ruin that sport or that committee, and you can see where we might be going with this, but we got to hold them accountable and hope that, it can be best for the sport and those who love it, most importantly, the fans.
We heard a complaint this last week. Someone didn't like the NBA because Adam Silver's allowing these super teams to happen. We go back to the NCAA just this March when Sedona Price of the Oregon Ducks called out the NCAA of the mistreatment of equality when it came to the way that they run the men's basketball tournament and the women's basketball tournament. And like you said, we are becoming more acknowledged viewers because people within the, players at the NCAA, players within the MLB, players in the NBA, fans of the NBA, they're seeing now where executives and commissioners, people who run these leagues, where they slip up, and they slip up in some really bad ways. And that's specifically with the NCAA, calling it a miscommunication and that's why the problems that's why the problems that we saw happened. How it's excuses like that. My dad always told me excuses are like butt cracks. Everyone has one and they all stink. And that one is the stinkiest of stinkies. That one was pulled out of a Johnny on the spot.
Stinkiest of stinkies. That is funny.
That was that right there. Miscommunication was a porter potty excuse. Miscommunications, and the fact that the board of governance is still approving him, and just yesterday or a couple days ago, there's still a vote of confidence with Emmert being the head chairman of the NCAA. I mean, mistakes are made. He's gonna get a second chance from this, obviously, but he got called out, and he got called out rightly so, and so did the NCAA of how they put on these and how they organized each of these tournaments. And it went from the weight room to the food to the welcome gifts that they got in the hotel room. It just really showed. It really, what is it? I like to say it uncovered. They pulled the blanket off them and exposed them. And Charles Barkley noted that yesterday in the post-game show, and that's what his video that was circulating, and he told them they need to get their crap together, the NCAA being them. Totally agree with him on that.
Exactly.
But
exactly. You are correct, the Mundo.
That ties into we told you guys already, we are doing some other podcast projects. We have one called the Passion Pit podcast. Me and Armand have already recorded the first episode that will be published tomorrow. And we talk about the 2022 Qatar World Cup. And Armand, you wanted to have that discussion with me. And I told you right from the get-go, love it. And so what, and I'm going to let you talk about it since you brought it up. What made you want to have that discussion about the passion, or have that discussion on the Passion Pit?
Yeah, well, when we talk about the stinkiest of stinkies, Braden, this might be one of them with the problems with the 2022 Qatar World Cup. It's a sport that, me and you really like, and a lot of the people who are commenting today, a lot of people watching today, I know they really like it because I've talked about soccer, about football with all of them, have had good talks with these so-called experts. But when it comes to the 2022 Qatar World Cup, something I wanted to, the reason it came to my eye, the reason I was passionate about it, and I wanted to talk about it on our episode of The Passion Pit on our new podcast network, was because I first learned about in 2014 about the problems with the migrant workers. And at that time, I don't know what the number was, but we saw that the number's over 6,000 migrant worker deaths in helping create this Qatar World Cup. And in our podcast, we do mention and kind of highlight the problems, both human rights related and non-human rights related, to kind of paint the picture and kind of put us in the situation of selecting a host for the World Cup. And you have these problems that you know of and deciding why you would still go with it, knowing these problems, knowing the headaches that may occur. And, you know, we kind of get to that. And it was just something, the reason I want to talk about was because it is something I'm passionate about. It's a big world event, and you're putting it in a place with a lot of these problems in a region, with a lot of problems, a lot of political, human rights, and even none of those sorts, but all of them being problems. And hoping that it doesn't ruin this beautiful, you know, event that happens only every 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the hope. And, you know, we talk about it, whether U.S. soccer is in it or not. I know all of us will still watch. Who knows? Maybe Braden Shaw will be reporting, inshallah. We don't know. But that's the thing. That's kind of why we talked about it. It was a great discussion. Told my parents about it. They were really interested in it. So we're excited to kind of publish that. And I think it'll be a good one. I think it was a good one. I think it was one of our two best passion pits so far.
Yes, one of the two best. You know, I'll say it again. I said it in the podcast. We like saying acknowledge viewers. That's what we're becoming more of now, is that we're seeing how things work thanks to social media and the outreach that can have on certain people who report on its platforms. I mean, look, it took one athlete to start a wave with the NCAA on the situation with equality. Maybe a discussion that should have been had way earlier on with the way that they handle the tournaments. But, you know, we're becoming more acknowledged viewers in this World Cup. You know, every single one could have been corrupt for all we know. But we know for a fact that the build up to this one, 12 years in the making, we know for a fact, if you've been following along with it, we know it will be the most corrupt World Cup that we have viewed, that we will watch, because we know. There could have been more in the past that we didn't know about, but the information that has came out of the building of this one, and like Armand said, we get into deeper discussion about it on that podcast episode. It's going to drop tomorrow. We're finishing the editing on it today. And Raj, yes, exactly. That's what sparked the discussion. Armand bringing up that Norway, the teams at Norway, Germany, we're starting to see the after effect of what had already taken place and what's leading up to this World Cup. Protests with the German and Norway national teams. It'll be available on Spotify. If you look up Ikai Network, Coffee's On, we'll post it in the Facebook page and on the Twitter page tomorrow. We'll post a link to it. And yeah, it like Raj says, it led to the resignations of FIFA's president. And so yeah, we talk about that, and like I said, it'll be published tomorrow, sometime in the morning, maybe 10 a.m., just like when Coffee's On usually comes on. Final thing, we have to do this because of one of our proud sponsors, life insurance. Don't know where we can send you the life insurance. We can talk to you about the importance of life insurance. I don't have a life insurance policy. I don't know if Armand does, but we got to have some fun with it. And Armand, I asked you before the show, and I'll ask you now.
Yes.
Are pawns the life insurance, or are pawns the insurance of chess? Chess has a lot of life metaphors that are brought into it. Are pawns the insurance of the chess game?
They might be, but kind of, you know, the relation with insurance and pawns is that we're both confused about life insurance and as insurance as a whole. And, you know, I think a lot of people are confused of how to use or utilize the pawn when it comes to chess. But we realize that you can't overlook its value. You know, those pawns one day can develop into a queen. You don't know. And what do we know? The queen is the most important piece in this game of chess, or the game of life. So just like insurance, just like pawns, maybe the pawns do insure you because they can point to the brighter days ahead.
Huh, I like that. And yeah, you're right. Pawns can turn into queens if you get them to the right. If you place them in the right spot. They protect. There's a reason why they're the frontline defense, or as you say, or like you said, the queens are the frontline defense. But they're also, if you use them the right way, they can become very beneficial to you. So, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have thought about getting life insurance, but if you think about it, you can contact us, and we'll get you in contact with someone else who could talk to you about it. But yeah, that is it for today's Coffee's On episode. We'll be back Wednesday, talking about plenty more, recapping the Elite Eight. Maybe the Chiefs will make another move in between today and then. But yeah, tomorrow, be looking out for the first of the Passion Pit podcast episode, where me and Armand go into a deeper discussion on what goes behind the 2022 World Cup and just our thoughts on the World Cup as a whole. Because like you said, Armand, it's a spectrum that gets put on, and it plays a part in our lives that we talk about in the podcast. But with that, Armand, I will see you later as I come back home. Stay safe out there in Lawrence.
I'll see you later. Don't know what time to expect you, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll be here in probably the same place.
Thank you, as always, to the viewers and the commenters tuning in. We appreciate you guys tuning in through and throughout, and participating in what is our live show, Coffee's On. Take care, everybody. Happy Monday. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, unless you already said it, we will post the podcast, so it's going to be easier for people to see. Well,
yes.
Facebook, Twitter, so they can see it.
Yes.
But we'll see everyone later.
Bye, everybody.